Have you ever dreamed of creating a Hollywood blockbuster? In this video, I'm going to use OpenAI's Deep Research agent to push my idea further. The scenario is the mountain of mastery. It follows someone climbing a mountain of knowledge towards mastering YouTube, building 5 YouTube channels and creating 555 videos in 55 weeks. To map out such an ambitious journey, I'm turning to AI. So today, let's use OpenAI's Deep Research and see what we can uncover. OpenAI recently made Deep Research available to various plans, including the Plus plan that I'm on at the moment. And what this tool allows you to do is synthesize large amounts of information, do deep research and analysis, find out the sources, and come up with a coherent research document based on simple prompts. So this has been designed for people that are doing deep research, and they've got examples here like science, policy, and engineering. And the way you use it is that you put in a prompt or a query that you want to start off with and click the deep research button. So according to evaluations from Humanity's last exam, we can see that the model rates higher than any of the other models by a significant measurement. And that's good for me because at the moment I've been doing a whole lot of research on particular documents that I've put together manually using the GPT-4o model. And this is around an idea called the 555 Manifesto. And this came about because I'm in the middle of preparing for some tech summits in which I'm giving presentations and workshops on the idea of creating 555 videos in 55 weeks across 5 different channels. Now, a lot of the information from the 555 Manifesto has already been actioned by me over the last 2 years. So I've got a whole lot of detailed facts and figures around multiple YouTube channels and the success that they've got. But the problem I've got is that if I produce it in a presentation format, it'll be a little bit dry. And it got me thinking, can I do a Hollywood blockbuster style of script based around the information that I've already gathered? And we can see one of the conversations right here where I have a list of the files that I've been updating and the basic idea that I'm trying to adapt a Hollywood production to a small team of just 3 people and hundreds of agents that can recreate a blockbuster video around this particular idea. And as I was working through this, I came across a new button on my ChatGPT last week saying Deep Research. And over the next month, I'll have access to 10 different research tasks. So let's have a think about how we could write a prompt here. So I've just put in a simple concept at the moment, and I'm just asking for a prompt that might work. So how can I research a production process for a Hollywood blockbuster as if it was created by a small team of 3 using AI agents? So most of the work will be done by myself, but because I do have multiple YouTube channels, I have a couple of people that might be able to help me along the way with the help of AI agents. Now, the problem with this one question like this is that it may go off in any number of directions that I don't want it to do. So let's see if we can improve this. We're about to do a deep dive into the research prompt, but if you want to skip ahead to where it's actually been executed or just beforehand where the expected outputs are talked about, then click the chapter links in the description. Now, I spent a little bit of time this morning coming up with a much more detailed prompt that I can work with that covers the different edge cases I'm thinking of. So let's go and deep dive and see what's going on in this particular prompt. So the first section of the prompt is all about context, what we're trying to achieve, plus what we would like to constrain the achievement on. So this is about understanding the Hollywood production process of a blockbuster. The blockbuster is a multi-movie concept called the Mountain of Mastery. We're working on the first movie, which will be the 555 Manifesto, and that the main protagonist or the hero will be Appy Dave, who is modeled after Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, maybe a little bit of The Mummy, maybe a little bit of MacGyver for the ability to be resourceful. Now, the challenges that we've got in doing a movie production is that we don't have a massive team. We've just got a couple of humans and maybe hundreds of agents, and we need to make sure that the construct that we get or the research maps to the Hollywood process, but works within our guidelines. So one of the first research goals is storytelling. I want to understand how storytelling works in a blockbuster, how it works in a franchise. I want to understand the philosophies that might be going on in the world that you're creating. So something like Avatar had different philosophies around nature and connecting with the earth. And these are sorts of concepts that I need to research for the movie I'm putting together. A lot of this will also drive the visualization aspects. So the first main goal of our prompt is understanding the storytelling. Now, since a Hollywood blockbuster can cost $100 million and have hundreds of people involved, and that's not what we're doing today, we need to translate that process down to a much simpler concept that also constrains. So we've got constraints on the fact that it's a solo creator. We have understanding or research going into the general process of creating a movie. And then we're talking about how do people on a budget deal with the sorts of things that might be done using CGI or Unreal game engines and light and sound effects. So we're looking at how this can all be done with simple tools in AI and coming up with a script writing process that will make sense for the target medium, which is YouTube. Next, I want to research storytelling and visualization that can match what I personally can do. So this means I firstly have to understand the different documentary styles on YouTube that are really successful with storytelling, a little bit different to a Hollywood blockbuster. I also have to let it research techniques that'll make sense for the graphic styles that I do. So recently I just did a video on doing consistent scenes and characters. It's all part of this project. And I'm letting it know that this is what I can use, which is basically Canva, Leonardo, and Design. So from here, we're hopefully going to come up with a bunch of best practices, tools, and techniques that are in alignment with what I can actually produce. Next, I want to have some research on techniques for creating visuals and audio files that are beyond what I currently use. So we're asking it to look at tools like Sora and Runway ML to look at what other influencers and YouTubers are doing with their story creation techniques, and even have conversations and thoughts about audio, sound effects, music, this sort of stuff that adds ambience and atmosphere to any sort of movie. Next, I want to look at marketing and promotion or amplification based specifically on Hollywood blockbusters, but as done on YouTube. Now, that got me thinking, I don't have a team to do that. What am I going to do? But it occurred to me that if you're doing a YouTube thumbnail, that can look like a Hollywood blockbuster poster. If you're doing a trailer, that can be done as a YouTube short, or it could be just taking sections of the regular video and just putting it into a smaller context. So we've got areas in here for audience growth techniques, and maybe it'll lead into blog posts, articles, or other sorts of presentations. We'll see where that research goes. Now, the only reason I even got to this prompt was to solve this one problem, validation and enhancement of structure. And we can see different information going on here, but if I take you down to the raw documents, you can see that I've got a section up in the top left-hand corner, which is agent workflows that I've built, AI agents, to help me automate different aspects of different YouTube channels with different goals, styles, objectives. And then I've put together a bunch of information that I did my own research around, and we can see the files listed here. We can see information about what they do, and then we can go into more detail about what I'm trying to achieve. So I already have some good documents put together around the Mountain of Mastery metaphor, timelines, stuff like that. But the challenge I've got is that I need more information and I need it to be cohesive with what I've currently got. We need to improve it. We've got to work on the different templates. So hopefully these documents will all be uploaded as part of the prompt, and we'll see if they get modified as well. So the final part of this prompt is what I want to receive. So I need to understand the org chart, the people involved, and the AI agents that I need to create. We're going to analyze the current documents, any new documents that we need that haven't been thought of. We're going to ensure that everything is cohesive so that we don't have duplicate information across documents. And from that, we'll end up with a new structure based off the one we've already got. From there, I want to fill in the current documents either with the information I already have or the enhanced information as it sees fit. And I also really want to understand what other channels are doing this sort of work so that I can model from them. Lastly, it's a bunch of documents that I've done a fair bit of work around myself that I need more clarity and understanding with. So the prompt that we've created will research what is the minimum viable Hollywood production structure that can be replicated by a small YouTube team. It's going to look at the different tools, AI workflows, and automations that I already use, plus my team composition. And what I've put together is the prompt that we can just go and copy and paste in. I've also had a quick conversation with ChatGPT around whether I can use a zip file. So all the text documents that we've created, we should be able to compress and just upload that. Now let's go and start our deep research. Now, ideally, I would like to do it from within the project that we got 555 Manifesto, but the problem is that the deep research button is not available here. So what we're going to have to do instead is just create a clean ChatGPT conversation. From there, we're going to paste in our prompt that we want to work with. Let's just upload our zip files. So we've currently got the Mountain of Mastery zip being uploaded. And with that in place, let's click the deep research button. And then what you've got to do is come over and click this button here, and it's starting to work. So with the conversation started, we're still showing 10 available credits. So the deep research hasn't kicked off yet. It's asking us a couple of questions before we get started. To answer each of these questions, I like to just reframe them. So for priority, I like to say expected research results, which is exactly what we've already put into the prompt. So it understands where the priority of everything up above should be coming to. The next thing is, should it analyze the zip files? And yes, it should, but it can focus on the table of contents because all the other files have descriptions listed in this particular file. For the output format, I'm not sure because I've never done this before. So I would like to see Markdown in a code block. I can then just copy and paste it into a Markdown document, but it may already have the ability to create those files for download. So I'll give it the choice in this particular case. As for this last question, I don't really know how to answer it. I don't know what the real world case studies are. So I'm giving it a choice. You can choose whether there are examples that really do fit what I'm after. Otherwise, we can invent one. So let's click the button and see what happens. I'll start by analyzing the zip file, beginning with the TOC. That's great. This will help identify existing material. I'll ensure the research outputs align with real-world case studies where applicable. This is good. Refine for congruence. We've established storytelling and production methodologies. After that, it's reading through the different files. I'll update you once the analysis is complete. It's currently exactly 12 midday here in Brisbane. We'll see how long this takes. Now, the research was finished in 9 minutes, and we can see here there's a whole lot of enhanced documentation. Now, it wasn't quite what I was thinking I was going to receive, but this is a really detailed document that we can go into and investigate. And I'll tell you what sort of things I missed and didn't consider with the deep research bot, and the stuff that it's highlighted, which is just absolute gold. Now, the first thing that it's stating is that we should refine the structure and workflow. The documentation should be restructured into clear sections so that nothing falls between the cracks. And what I've currently got is this list of documents that you can see right here. This is what I gave it to start off with. So as we look through this, we can see that some of the documents I originally gave have been listed. Other documents have also been listed and stated that they've still got to-do markers. This was areas that I was hoping from other documents we could have got a little bit of extra context written for us, but that never happened. So what I'd like to do is look at the structure that I've currently got, and I've just briefly put it into categories like this. You can also see it in this particular format, but it would be really nice if we could take the structures that they're talking about here and at least rewrite our file names and maybe subfolders that they belong into so that they match the information that's going here. Now I've just come to the bottom of the chat where I've written a prompt right here, and the main thing I want to do is include the research guidelines from above. So that's all been included, and they are instructions for essentially renaming or grouping these particular files. So that's what this prompt is all about. Can you take the suggestions from the research and do the renames as needed? And I've just given it some instructions on what to do if it needs to rename, add a new file, split. And from there, I can just go and select this section and paste it in, and let's see what we get. And you can see that it's starting to relay out the files as I used to have them, and it's letting me know when a new file is needed. It's giving me clarity around the folder names, which is great. It's giving me instructions when I need to expand information. Now, a lot of the stuff that's in the comments is actually in the research documentation above. Now, it's also given me a summary of the files that I need to change and the next steps. Now, what I will do is also just put in a little prompt that will rename these files so that the groupings have numbers, because apparently, according to the documentation above, these are all meant to happen in a specific order. It's like a project management. So as this is being generated, we can see that the project overview is number 1. These are the files that'll be part of that. Then we've got the research and inspiration. The next part of research was the gap analysis, where it's talking about great conceptual backbone, but there's several gaps that need addressing. So the obvious ones are that some of the files just say to do, and it's letting me know that the narrative is not complete. Now, a lot of the reason for creating this particular research document was so that I had all the tools handy to actually write the narrative. So that's part of the reason why this is happening. The other thing it starts talking about, and this was unexpected, is talking about episodes. And the reason it's unexpected is I thought it'd be single movies within a larger epic, but this is starting to think of it more as episodes that you might see on TV. And a little bit further in the document, it gives some really great examples of that. And as I was thinking through this, I thought this might actually be an easier and more consistent way for me to release information around this particular project. But as you look at each of the individual sections here, you might be wondering, well, is there enough depth in this to work with it? And what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks is heading over to the Appy Dave research channel. And this is a place where I do live streams on individual problems that I might have. So I might come and look at this particular issue and over a half-hour session do a live research. And then if you want to get it in a more consumable fashion than just me bumbling through the live stream, you'll be able to come back to the Appy Dave channel where I'll do a podcast using JellyPod or Notebook LM, which puts it more into a conversational style. Now, before we get into the real world case studies, I will mention that the live stream and the podcasts that you were just seeing were part of this idea of the 555 Manifesto, and it's the ability to have diverse types of content being created on multiple channels, which is what I'm exploring with a lot of AI agents. But that said, let's get into the real world case studies. Now, in the real world case studies, this is where it's solidified that I might need to think of things as episodes. So here we've got Rocket Jump, and one of the things that it's talking about is how they needed to diversify their income over time because of the complexities of doing full series, and they went out and got external partners through Hulu. It also got me thinking about the beginning, middle, end cliffhangers and different themes for each episode. And this would be a lot easier for me to achieve on a case-by-case basis than a full blockbuster, which could come in a later point of time. The next example was Markiplier's Interactive Adventures, and this was basically a choose-your-own adventure. And one of the things that it got me thinking about when reading through the information here was the need to have solid shot lists and narratives, and to even consider that episodes don't actually need to be longer than 5 to 10 minutes in length. The other examples like Casey Neistat the Guild and Corridor's digital AI anime pointed out a few things to me. Firstly, the simplicity of the animations and the graphics that I want to do with Leonardo AI and design can be thought through quite clearly and executed. The other thing that I found really interesting is that the whole goal of this particular project is to educate myself and other people on how to run multiple YouTube channels and really aiming for that mountain of mastery, which is YouTube automation. And the thing is, if you look at the biggest educators on YouTube in this market, say Sean Cannell from Think Media, you've got Justin Brown from Primal Video, and then you've got a bunch of others, and no one really has over 3 million followers. But if you look at any of these storyboard channels, they start from 10 million and head upwards of 40 million in followers or subscribers. And so it's a really interesting way at looking at the education is to maybe turn it into movies and episodes and have more of a story nature to it. Now, before we get into this last section, recommendations and next steps, if you're actually interested in learning more about the 555 Manifesto, the ability to run more than one YouTube channel and get content repurposing going, then I'm talking at a couple of tech summits in the next few months, and I've got free workshops coming up. You can find a link in the description. That said, let's just get back into it. Now, the Deep Research bot finished on these recommendations for next steps. Now, it's a concrete list of steps that I could take to improve the documents I've got. There's 8 different recommendations being listed here. Now, if you're interested in a deep dive on those next steps, then check out the live stream on Appy Dave Research or the podcasts that'll come out on Appy Dave. Now, I'm planning to do more videos on OpenAI's Deep Research and, of course, on the Mountain of Mastery 555 Manifesto as that becomes available. So if you're interested, check out one of the videos up in the corner. I'm Appy Dave. Please like and subscribe.